The quotient rule says that if you could take your function, f of x, h of x, whatever you want to call it, and if you can look at it as the quotient of two functions, let's call the top one f of x and the top one g of x. If you can think about it as two functions being divided, then the derivative of that function is the derivative of the numerator times the denominator without its derivative, subtracted by the top function times the derivative of the denominator. And that's all over g squared. And note that you could write this as g of x. Just writing f and just writing g, that's shorthand for f of x, g of x. Okay, so this could be our f of x, and this could be our g of x. So we want to know what f prime is. F prime of x is 12x. G prime of x, using the power rule, is 8x plus 6. And now we can plug that into our formula. We need f prime times g minus f times the derivative of g. That's all over g squared. Oh, I dropped my negative sign. There's a negative sign out front, so the negative sign still applies here. So there you go. That's the derivative. You could simplify algebraically if you want, but the goal of this question is to value h prime of a, so that a is 2. What they want you to do, another way of writing what they're asking you to do, is to find the derivative when x equals 2. So I'm going to just go through here and plug 2 in for x instead of simplifying algebraically. I don't know what would be easier. Oh, I'm out of room in the numerator. So this is subtract 6 times 2 squared, and that's 8 times 2 plus 6. It's all over. We're plugging in 2 for x. And now it's careful simplification to get to the final answer here. We'll just keep the negative sign out to the end. Let's do the highest power. Let's do this parentheses first. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 makes 16 plus 12 minus that 10. So I found out this parentheses is 18. 18 times this 24 makes 432. It's still that negative sign I haven't dealt with yet. But it's a negative of, well, that's tricky. I shouldn't put the negative sign there. It's a negative of the entire thing. So here, we're going to write a negative on the outside. So that's 432 in the numerator, subtracted by, oh, I hit my piano button on my computer. 2 times 2 is 4. 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 6 makes 22. So 22 times 24 makes 528. And the denominator, 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 makes 16. 16 plus 6 times 2 is 12. So 16 plus 12 minus 10. Square it. Denominator is 324. I got something, and then there's a negative sign there here, so let's keep it as a fraction. So that's a negative 96. I'm just going to put positive 96 over 324. Who knows what that simplifies to be off the top of their head, huh? Let's just keep dividing by 2 until they're not even anymore. They're both divisible by 3. Yeah, so 24 divided by 3. Man, they don't make the numbers small. Maybe it would have been better to simplify algebraically. I got 8 out of 27. Same thing for this one, they want h prime. They don't give us what g is though, so that'll make it interesting. Let's go through the formula. So it's f prime times g minus f g prime all over g squared. So we know what f is, and therefore we can find the derivative. It's nice and simple for the derivative, so if we plug that in, it's negative 4x times a g of x that we don't know, minus f, which is negative 2x squared minus 7, times g prime, which we don't know, so we're going to keep it there, and then it's g of x in the denominator being squared. We don't know what that is, but we know what the x value is that they're plugging in, and then they give us some particular known values. If you plug in negative 2 everywhere where you see an x, you got g of negative 2 minus negative 2 times negative 2 squared minus 7 g prime of negative 2. It's all over g of negative 2. This is being squared. So g of negative 2, they tell us that that is negative 7. G prime of negative 2, they tell us that that is 5. So they said g of negative 2 is 7, so in the denominator that's negative 7 squared. Okay, now we can simplify. Negative 4 times negative 2 makes 8. 8 times negative 7 makes negative 56. And over here we got negative 2 squared makes 4. 4 times negative 2 makes negative 8. Negative 8 subtracted by 7 makes negative 15. Negative 15 times 5 makes negative 75. That's all over negative 7 that's being squared, so it makes 49. So we got 19 out of 49, and 19's prime, so looks like this is it right here.